a letter to yourself. So I put together a letter, and I want you guys to envision yourself 5 years from now. Yourself 5 years from now. So your age right now plus 5 years from now. And so it states, Dear, insert your name. First off, you're a freaking bad A. 5 years ago, I know you were wildly skeptical about the knife job, and maybe you had some friends who didn't think you would do well. Maybe you had a family member to tell you that you weren't meant for a job like this. Maybe you had a significant other, a boyfriend or girlfriend or best friend that didn't believe in you. And maybe you didn't believe in yourself at the time. But thanks to the effort that you put into that knife job, this is what has come out of it. Number one, you're a completely different person, one of the most confident, well-spoken, highly respected individuals in your friend group and colleagues. You've been promoted over 10 times since you started the knife job. And every single year, you've won a free trip, sometimes 2 free trips out of the country so you can explore and see the world. Because of the work ethic that you put into that knife job, you've been recognized by your managers and you've been promoted multiple times within leadership. So between the ages of 18 to 23, you've ran over 300 interviews within your office, and you've had the opportunity to hire over 100 people to allow them to have a job during the worst job market for college students. You then later got promoted to run a branch office that was nationally ranked, and you changed the lives of another 100 plus people that summer. You learned about emergency funds. You learned about retirement funds. You learned how to develop such great early on habits to set yourself up for the future. You graduated debt-free from one of the best schools in the state, and you developed some of the best friendships along the way. You landed your dream job because of the experience that you gained at that knife job. So now you are one of the best, insert whatever profession is your dream job, in your field. If you're reading this, stay strong. Don't get discouraged by the 2 to 12 bad weeks you're bound to encounter. Not every week will be great, but you're going to learn how to become a better version of yourself through the tough weeks. You got this. Or your 5+ self in the future, insert your name. That is a letter to yourself, okay, in 5 years of what's going to happen, guys, if you start to take the job very seriously starting today and you incorporate the key habits that I'm going to tell you guys about that really do make a big difference when it comes to your phoning. I don't know about you guys, but that's a great lifestyle in the next 5 years to be able to say, right? Some of my personal customers, by the way, have never once been able to travel around the world, and they're 30, 40, 50 years old. So to actually put your mind into something like Cutco, you get the chance to do that. We have several trips that you can win if travel something that's in your heart. We have several ways of getting plugged into management or just to improve and become a top key staff member. So you get so consistent, then you get plugged into selling, more consistently and to get mentored by some of the best reps in our office. There's going to be 5 key areas that I'm going to hit on. 5 key areas. Number 1, I'm going to, put them into the chat here. I'm just going to give you guys a quick roadmap on where we're going today. But the first thing I'm going to hit on is how systems aren't built on motivation. Then I'm going to hit on the importance of names list building and how that has more so to do with phone calls than you realize. So just the importance of names list building throughout the week. Then I'm going to hit on phoning scripts, sending out follow-up text messages, so perfecting that overall system. Then I'm going to hit on phoning objections, the importance of it, what they really mean. And lastly, I'm going to hit on phoning misconceptions. So when it comes to phoning, it has to be a system that you have to create for yourself. So Shayla loves the quote that I said a while back, but you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So no matter how badly you want to hit 7 to 10 appointments, 15, 20 appointments per week, you might think, oh, I really want to sell $1,000 to $3,000 per week. Great goal. But my question to you is, are your systems and habits aligned to help you hit that goal per week? And in order to do that, most of us know that you need to have 3 to 5 phone jams in the schedule throughout the week. You got to have 1 to 2 workshops in your schedule so that way you can learn from mistakes versus being doomed to repeat them on a week-to-week basis. And so that's a big reason why we have workshops, is so that way we can help you through those key mistake and key areas. So key number 1, stop thinking that phoning only is when you feel like it or when you have 50 to 100 numbers to call. I think so many of us, when we're brand new, we just think, oh, we're only going to phone when we have all the numbers. Once we have all the numbers, then we're actually going to start taking this seriously. So let me use a couple non-Cutco examples to kind of really highlight this key. When it comes to showing up to a final in college, that's kind of like telling your professor on final day, hey, I actually didn't.
Wingardium Leviosa. Stop. You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Hey, I actually didn't study, nor did I do any of the assignments that you told us about in the study guide. So I only know about 7 to 10 out of these 50 questions because I didn't study. So I'm only going to do like 7 to 10 questions and hope for the best. That's kind of what it's like when we don't work on our names list building throughout the week, and we're expected to make 30 to 50 calls when we only have 7 to 10 numbers to call during a phone jam. Does not make sense. Now, in college, is it mandatory to go to tutoring? Is it mandatory to do study guides? Is it mandatory to go to office hours and meet with your professor if you're stuck on anything? No, but it's expected that you do it in order to get a good grade, right? So in Cutco, it's not mandatory to build your names list. It's not mandatory to talk to your manager on PDI when they reach out to you. It's not mandatory to schedule a PC or a workshop. But is it highly encouraged to succeed? Absolutely. So I think some of us need to start treating our phone time and our names list building time the way that we treat college if we want to do well in college. A championship team practices their craft on the days that they're not in the game. Can we be a team that practices our craft, not just during team meetings, but the other days of the week? Start spending time each day building your names list until you get to 100 names and numbers. Some of us only have 10, 15, 20 numbers to work with, which is fine. But that means the other days of the week, we got to spend some time building that bad boy. And I know some of us might be thinking, Bri, I'm too busy. I work a full-time job like Elise does, you know. I have a family. I have a significant other. I have too much on my plate. I can't spend time building my list. Well, if you have 1 to 5 hours to spend on social media, TikTok, and Netflix, newsflash, we've got some time to build our names list for at least 30 minutes a day. So spend some time prioritizing the right things. So if you need accountability, schedule a PC with your manager so we can sit there with you as you're building your names list if you need to. You're not taking up time from your manager. By the way, the manager during that accountability PC to help you build your names list has 1,000,000,001 other things that they can do while you're working on your names list. So if you're worried about, bothering us, please bother us. This is your full-on green light to do that if you need that accountability. Success isn't given, success is earned daily. So what I mean by earning it daily, it's about focusing on the daily wins. I've had some reps in the past tell me, I sent out 50 messages and I only got 1 phone number from that. Bro, let's celebrate that. That's 1 extra number that you didn't have 20 minutes ago. Right? Why are we so focused on, I did this much, but I only got this much back? Who cares? So if you did this process for 7 days and you got back 7 to maybe 14 numbers from the process, worth your time. worth your time, believe it or not. So don't undervalue the journey. It's about putting forth that energy and earning it daily. No matter how comfortable or how advanced you are, don't go off script. This is another key for a lot of managers and reps that I've mentored over the years. Perfect example is actually Fletcher right now. He's in a downward spiral of no sales and cancellations and reschedules, and he's so frustrated. So during our PC this past week, I was like, hey, let's be real. What's going on? And he was like, honestly, I'm not sticking to the script. I'm at 36K in sales. I didn't think that I needed to stick to it to a T. So I'm kind of just throwing in a lot of personal stories, a lot of confidence, but I'm not doing what I used to do back in the day that got me to 30K in sales. And first off, I was like, hey, I'm proud of the fact that you're admitting this, because this says a lot. And this is a starting base on where we can go. But even our top people within our offices have the same issue where they feel, oh, I've reached this level, so I don't have to follow it anymore. That's encouraging to you right now to keep following the script even more closely. So I'm going to go through this approach since most of us are rising stars, so we're probably hitting on this one more closely, or the acquaintance approach at this point. So I'm going to dissect it for us because I really want us to understand the importance of each line and why we can't just go off script no matter how advanced we are. Just to put it into perspective, guys, my last semester in college back in 2017, when I was still doing a lot of appointments per week, this approach that we're going through right now is the one that I used every single time, and I always had it up, even at 95K in sales for that reason. And that's how I scheduled appointments. So, hi there, is this so-and-so? Hi so-and-so, this is Bri Galarza. I'm not sure you know me personally, but I was talking to Eileen Romero the other day, and she brought up your name. Did she tell you that I was calling? And at that point, right, you have to be aware of one or two responses. So she's either going to be totally skeptical because she has no clue who you are. So be prepared for a skeptical Mrs. Jones. Don't let that catch you off guard. Or she's going to be super sweet. Yeah, totally. I got a text message about you, heard you were awesome, and she had a pleasure hanging out with you the other day. Be prepared for both based off of this question. If she's skeptical, you have to be super personable over the phone, and you have to sound like you're a nice individual. So if she has no idea who you are, oh no, I must have beat her to it. Ugh, Eileen is such a workhorse. I'm sure she probably forgot to text you about me. But hey, do you have a quick second to chat? Awesome. Well, so-and-so and I were talking and your name came up because she said that you might be nice enough to help me out. I'm a student at Metro State University, and right now I'm working with a company to gain some business and communication skills and to build my resume. And I also have a shot at winning a scholarship. My assignment is to show a product to people called Cutco that I've been personally recommended to get their opinion on it and also on me. Have you heard of Cutco before? Oh, no problem. Well, I do the presentation right over the phone, and you just need to be in front of a laptop or computer at home, and you definitely don't have to get anything because I get paid just to show it. In order to stay on track with my scholarship or my contest, I need to do 15 appointments before 3 days. So I was hoping, if today's Saturday, before Monday night. If today's Wednesday, before Saturday, pick the 3-day mark there. So I was hoping I could show you actually tonight at 3 o'clock, or would tomorrow morning at 11 be better for you? If she says yes, oh, great, oh my gosh. And when she says yes, guys, you make her sound like a freaking rock star. You don't just say, oh, great, thank you so much. What's your email? Awesome, thanks. If I got that as a response, that's not that important to them. So remember, how do you sound when she finally says yes? Do you make her sound like an absolute rock star, or do you just sound super scripted? So another key there. Oh my gosh, Mrs. Jones, thank you so much. hey, I know meeting with a college student for 45 minutes probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means the absolute world to me because you're helping me get one step closer to this goal. I really appreciate it. Hey, what's your email address? So I can send you an email confirmation. Sweet, awesome. Oh my gosh, thank you again. Hey, can you grab a piece of paper and pen for me really quickly? I'm gonna have you write down a couple important things here. So again, my name is Bri, B-R-I. Our appointment is for tomorrow at 11, right? Okay, cool. And can you draw a big smiley face so you recognize me? I know it sounds corny, Mrs. Jones, and you've probably never had anybody ask you to write that down, but I just want you to kind of visualize me before I show up tomorrow on Zoom. Great. So just so you know, I do have appointments back to back, and I'm really working really hard for this goal. So are you sure this time definitely works for you? Okay, great, awesome. Well, thank you so much. This really helps me out a ton. I'm looking forward. By the way, can you please make sure that your spouse is there, just because I'd love to get their opinion on it as well. But I will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It's about sounding excited. It's about sounding like she just is changing your life. Because if you think about it, one appointment could lead to a sale, which can lead to 10 to 15 to 20 recommendations. So you have to be thinking positively. What you think manifests into reality. So if you visualize each person as a top customer that's going to give you a ton of recommendations and you treat her like a queen, it does make a big difference. It's kind of like what Patty just taught to our staff. When we're interviewing people, we don't think of them as just that one applicant. We're visualizing them as a leader within our office, as a 10K fast starter. You're visualizing it, so you're manifesting it. So that's what I want you to do when you're actually making these phone calls. Don't sound scripted. Don't sound like you're bored. Don't sound like you're nervous. Act as if this is going to be the coolest 45-minute session that she's going to do with you. Quickly, I wanted to first kind of just show you guys the tonality aspect of the script, the excitement aspect of the script, because that's how you land appointments. It's about how you say something, not what you say. So making sure that if being prepared for one of two different types of Mrs. Joneses, the skeptical or the happy person that's expecting the call. And really emphasizing the school if you're a student. If not, just diving right into I'm working with a company. So just making sure you know which one is yours depending on your avenue. If she's heard of Cutco or hasn't, the response is always no problem or great. So don't go into detail on what Cutco is. That's not the point of that part of the script. Pretty straightforward there. Cool. This part right here is so important on how you're emphasizing it. So you definitely don't have to get anything because I get paid just to show it. And in order to stay on track with my goal or my scholarship, I need to do 5 or I need to do 10 appointments by 3 days. So that line is important because it's setting a deadline behind when you ideally need to see her. When we don't emphasize it, there isn't any importance, and that's where she might push you off for next week, right? So you want to make sure that you're emphasizing the 3-day rule, and if she tries to give you a day for next week, you say, hey, I love the fact that you're trying to help me out next week, but my deadline actually ends in 3 days. Is there any way you can squeeze me in within the next 3 days? Now, why do we ask for 3 days? It's because the more days that pass, the less important the appointment is going to be. So that you lose value every day that passes. So if you schedule it for that same day, the likelihood of her actually going through with the presentation is the absolute highest on a same day appointment. Tomorrow is the next best day or the next day, right? You got a 3-day window. Days 4 through days 12, if you try to schedule it then, Eileen can attest to this, the reschedule and cancellation rate drops significantly, meaning you're going to have so many reschedules if you schedule for 4, 6, 8, 10 days out. So you want to emphasize 3 days no matter what. Because you want to make sure that the days happen. And then this last part has to do with firming up the appointment. So firming up means making sure that it's set in stone and that she has it written down. I recently missed a meeting within the last week or two because it wasn't in my schedule. And I'm not married, don't got kids, and the average, parent that you're going to be meeting with is very busy. So if it's not in their schedule, they're going to forget about it. So you want to make sure that that it's in their schedule. Don't feel weird or dorky about asking them to write it down into their calendar. Thanking them sincerely, making sure that they understand how important it is to you, getting the proper things. The smiley face, again, makes you sound personable. When she sees it on a sheet of paper, it's a positive affirmation that you're going to be a nice person to meet with for 45 minutes. That's why that's in there. And then just making sure she understands that you've got back-to-back appointments so she doesn't risk trying to reschedule. That's why that's in there. And then you leave it off on a positive send-off with a thank you again. Notice how many times we've thanked her. 3 to 4 times as you're closing out, because again, if she feels appreciated, she's not going to go back on the appointment. So that's strategically in there for you. That follow-up text. Follow-up texts need to be short and sweet. Short and sweet. So do not send out the entire phoning script to your Mrs. Jones as a follow-up text message. As a matter of fact, sending follow-up texts throughout the week, it doesn't have to be every single phone jam, but at least 2 to 3 times a week when you're phoning, there needs to be a follow-up text associated. And that's because if she doesn't have your phone number saved, she's not going to pick up. There's some people that just refuse to pick up unknown numbers. So if you don't send a follow-up text and say, hey, by the way, my name is Bri, your best friend, your coworker Shayla was the one that gave me your phone number. I have a quick question. Shoot me a quick call. It's a little too long to text. That's all you got to say. It's not I'm going to school. I'm a scholarship person. I'm working with Cutco. None of that is sent in the follow-up text. It's a, hey, so-and-so, I got your phone number from blank, and I have a quick question for you. It's too long to text. Can you shoot me a quick call when you have a minute? Also, change up the number. Change up when you're calling and change up the number that you're calling off of. That's another pro tip. Because if you call at the same time every single day off of the same number, they're bound to get used to seeing the same number pop up and ignore it. But if you switch things up and you call maybe before class, before lunchtime or during lunchtime or whatnot, and change up throughout the week when you're calling people, especially people that have been hard to get a hold of, that needs to happen. It's part of the phoning strategy. Changing the phone number, asking a significant other, a parent, a sibling to change up a phone when you're making phone calls during a team meeting. Another pro tip. Stop calling off of the same number. Google Voice, if you want to get extra snazzy, download the app called Google Voice. A lot of our staff uses it because it works, and that's because when you change up the phone number, boom, exactly. You get 2 when you change up the phone number that you're using. So another pro tip there. Nothing worth having, sorry, there's a little typo, comes easy. So handle objections, fight for them. As a matter of fact, when you're setting up your desktop, guys, whatever phoning approach you're using, let's say you're using the referral approach, side by side next to it. Let's go this route. Okay, perfect. Handling objections, you should have that right next to it. Perfect. Having it side by side. Oh my gosh. So the second that someone gives you some sort of objection, instead of like scrolling because you're nervous and you're like, oh my gosh, where's the objection? You have everything right there written out for you. Plain and simple. So I thought that was really cool, just having your screen just perfectly aligned with both scripts, so that way you're prepared for that. Don't fall prey to phoning misconceptions. For example, I've heard so many over the years, I've heard so many people say, cool, if I call too many times, they're going to get annoyed with me. First off, no, people are busy. They have lives. So if they're not picking up, it's purely because you're calling at busy times. I've heard people say, well, if I reach out to too many friends, they won't be friends with me anymore. A lot of these people like back in college and high school that I don't talk to anymore, nor have I spoke to in the last 3 to 7 years, they're still my best friends. That's why we never talk. So, if I reach out to them about a knife presentation, what if they never want to talk to me again? Cool. That's a weird situation in itself that I want us to just address up top. If they're ignoring you, it's fine. You're not going to be best friends anymore. It's all good. But just realize that a lot of people are actually a lot nicer than you realize. Meaning a lot of people are actually going to go out of their way to help you because of the fact that it's just a knife presentation. You're just asking mom a quick question. You're making it into a way bigger deal just because you're nervous. And I get that, but just understand that it's just nerves. I've heard this one recently. Well, if I reach out to my teachers, they're going to fail me. What? Why would they fail you? Teachers go into the profession of teaching because they enjoy students. By the way, don't reach out to any mean teachers. So if they're like rude, mean teachers, don't ask them for a knife presentation. But all your other ones, they got into teaching because they love students, and sitting down with them for 45 minutes is helping you become a better version of yourself, which is why they became teachers, to help you become a better version. So it's a weird misconception that I've heard over the years. Parents and relatives not wanting to help you out, or you thinking they might get mad at you. Another misconception. That's not necessarily the case. If parents or relatives do get upset, it's because they don't understand the purpose. They don't think you're going to take it that seriously anyway, up top when you first begin. So that's why I know my mom didn't help me out with my names list building, because she wanted me to prove to her that I was going to take the job seriously. And then later she helped me out. But just prove to them that you are going to take this seriously, and explain to them that you're not going to push their friends and relatives or coworkers into buying things that you get credit just for seeing them. And another funny one that I've heard over the years is, I suck at phoning. So because I suck now at phoning, I'm never going to get better. Guys, no one out of the womb is good at phoning. Like, just realize that. So you're going to get better over time. It's something that you got to just practice. So just realize that if you have a phoning misconception or nerve or worry, talk to a manager about it so we can kind of help you ease into how to become better at phoning. But lastly, in closing, I should say, when it comes to phoning, you're either going to have a victim mentality or you're going to have a victory mentality. And what I mean by that is, victims have a tendency to just always think, well, I'm bad at phoning. I don't have phone numbers. Woe is me. It's always going to be this hard. No, it's not. That's just a made up lie in your head. That's a victim mentality lie in your head. Victory mentality means you're going to defeat this inner battle that you have within yourself on how to get better at phoning. And Kina used to always tell me this final quote, which is, give up who you are now for who you want to be later. So it's hard now. So give up who you are now, but it's going to be better in the future. And you're going to become that letter that I read off earlier. Okay.